All right, so let's dance, Blue.
We think this is actually the sweet spot for markets globally because we don't necessarily have synchronized global growth here, but we have sequential, and that's actually pretty good for
when
markets.
I look at
so
policy and overwhelming fundamentals, I look at a laser beam instead of the Mayan hydron collider crusher.
In the next quarter.
It worked. There's probably a time when you do it, but then if we're using lasers to depart and cauterize Wolverine's
and the Brazil markets are actually have been very steady. And even Brazil has reached a new high in the last week or so, despite the terrible headlines.
At any rate,
and what that tells you is
that laser policy starts to be a mathematics trick that starts to kind of three-phase motor. It's a real thing on XYZ particle location orbitals. Where does the common area of motion position over cyclicals? It's supposed to be all the realms are lining up.
Alicia, it's funny because just about a year ago, there were some tongue-in-cheek
comments and that'll flood the market, because then you would see something where the fundamentals would say on the laser beam.
The Fed is not the one that's going to cure the pandemic.
What happens is normally the fundamentals say this is bad. This is real bad.
Policies have been made have kept markets not just stable but upward trending the entire time. It's counterintuitive. This is something in an environment where there's a virus pandemic that could shut down parts of the economy. This is not exactly what we would expect. Have the markets now gone too far, too fast, given what we've seen in terms of economic slowdowns around the world?
But you have to understand what gets hurt, why it gets hurt, what the direct equation for that crushinator turns down to. Energy's got to come from somewhere. There was only an imparted force before it turned into the decay of heat, light, and sound on timelines that are irrational. Square root of -1 is anytime I quantified 0, the negative one had to come with it. I couldn't factor -1 first without some singularity or x plus y equation in the pipes.
Very good and poised for an inflection here. The U.S. could soften, and the U.S. could soften because we're mostly full of tech stocks. You know, the S&P is 35% tech, not just those 5 large cap tech, which make up about 23%, but it's much more than that. And we do see the risk to yields higher.
It's a number.
Now, this
You
morning,
can't quantify it any other way, but it's rational.
The market seems pretty sanguine
It's not
about
the value of gold. It's an algebraic equation off of
that,
so it's a complex conjugative of
so therefore we
how you have to
see that those
your
deep cyclicals will continue to work, and the reflation, right? The sectors that are going to be levered to higher inflation, because even if we don't get a really runaway inflation,
that means you had to be
like
prepared
the
here.
1970s,
It means you're setting up -0, but you have to understand the low end is here to buy in a seat or start at a smart location from where you were, or value that differential to every other matrix above that set. If you're going to keep a constant stick, then that makes the games, because within those time frames are adjusted at least to certain algorithms of timelines, but we can absolutely just kind of cut off a section of that bet and say everybody's on that. You may not have liked it, but we were running this way. If you wanted to play in this game, you'd have to adjust that number to fit inside here on a quantum operator. Just X and Y again.
For tech and media companies because of that kind of environment. Do the traditional thoughts hold?
It's a good point. This is a timing issue, and as we know, it's very, very hard to time the market. So I'd say this: I'd be careful on the more speculative names, the ones that rely on rock bottom interest rates in order to get enormous multiples on revenue. And you have to focus on the companies that are levered to the economy, somewhat cyclical in nature, and that really grow regardless, right? Cash flow regardless, margins regardless. And those are the companies you should be owning, because it is true at the end of this, too much inflation could inhibit growth.
Not supposed to know that answer.
So it is timing. We never recommend this completely. You should be fully allocated, and you should have a diversified portfolio. But I'd be careful on the speculative side here. I think there's more downside there.
Catch you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.